The English longbow is a powerful medieval type of bow, about 6 ft 1.8 m long. It is debated whether it originated in England or in Wales from the Welsh bow. By the 14th century it was being used by both the English and the Welsh as a weapon of war and for hunting. Longbow must be long enough to allow its user to draw the string to a point on the face or body. In continental Europe, it was generally seen as any bow longer than 3 ft 11 and 1.2 m. The Society of Antiquaries of London says it is a 5 to 6 feet 1.5 to 1.8 meters in length. A modern longbow straw is typically 60 lbf 270 n or less, and by modern convention measured at 28 inches 71.1 cm. Historically, hunting bows usually had draw weights of 56 to 220-270 n, which is enough for all but the very largest game, and which most reasonably fit adults can manage with practice. Today, there are few modern longbow archers capable of using 180, 185 lbf 800, 820 n bows accurately. The preferred material to make the longbow was yew, although ash, elm and other woods were also used. Traditional construction of a longbow consists of drying the yew wood for 1 to 2 years, then slowly working the wood into shape. The bow stave is shaped to have a D cross-section. Longbows were very difficult to master because the force required to deliver an arrow through the improving armour of medieval Europe was very high. The draw weight of a typical English longbow is disputed. It was at least 81 pounds force 360 newtons and possibly more than 130 lbf 600 n. Considerable practice was required to produce the swift and effective combat shooting required. Longest mark shot at on the London practice ground of Finsbury Fields in the 16th century was 345 yd 315 m. Hemi-Roman 8 set a minimum practice range for adults using flight arrows of 220 yd 200 m. Ranges below this had to be shot with heavy arrows. In 2012, Joe Gibbs shot a 2.25 Oz 64G livery arrow 292 yd 267 m with a 170 lbf 760 in U-bow. A 2006 test was made by Mathis Bain using a 75 lbf 330 in draw at 28 and 71 cm bow, shooting at 10 yards 9.1 m. This would be approximately equivalent to a 110 lbf 490 m bow at 250 yards 230 m. Measured against a replica of the thinnest contemporary gambeson padded jacket armour, a 905 grain needle bodkin and a 935 grain curved broadhead penetrated over 3.5 inches 89 mm. A typical military longbow archer would be provided with between 60 and 72 arrows at the time of battle. With the heaviest bows, a modern war bow archer does not like to try for more than 6 a minute. In tests against a moving target simulating a galloping knight, it took some approximately 7 seconds to draw, aim and loose an armour-piercing heavy arrow. Henry, Prince of Wales, later Henry V, was wounded in the face by an arrow at the Battle of Shrewsbury 1403. The royal physician John Bradmore had a tool made that consisted of a pair of smooth tongs. Once carefully inserted into the socket of the arrowhead, the tongs screwed apart until they gripped its walls. The word may have been coined to distinguish the longbow from the crossbow. The first recorded use of the term longbow, as distinct from simply bow, is possibly in a 1386 administrative document which refers in Latin to orcus vocati longbows, bows called longbows. Archery played a prominent role under the Normans, as the story of the Battle of Hastings shows. During the Anglo-Norman invasions of Wales, Welsh bowmen took a heavy toll of the invaders. Historians dispute whether this archery used a different kind of bow from the later English longbow. The longbow decided many medieval battles fought by the English and Welsh. Longbows were much faster and more accurate than the black powder weapons which replaced them. Longbowmen always took a long time to train because of the years of practice necessary before a war longbow could be used effectively. Longbows remained the main weapon of the trained bands, the home defence militia of the Tudor period, until they were disbanded by Queen Elizabeth I in 1598. The last recorded use of bows in an English battle may have been a skirmish at Bridgenorth in October 1642. Longbowmen remained a feature of the Royalist army, but were not used by the Roundheads. The idea that there was a standard formation for English longbow armies was argued by Alfred Byne in his influential work on the battles of the 100 Years' War, the Cressy War. This view was challenged by Jim Bradbury in his book The Medieval Archer. In summary, however, the usual English deployment in the 14th and 15th centuries was as follows. Infantry usually dismounted knights and armoured soldiers employed by the nobles and often armed with pole weapons such as poleaxes and bills in the centre. More than 3,500 arrows and 137 whole longbows were recovered from the Mary Rose, a ship of Henry Roman VIII's navy that capsized and sank at Portsmouth in 1545. It is an important source for the history of the longbow, as the bows, archery implements and the skeletons of archers have been preserved. The bows range in length from 6 ft 2 to 6 ft 11 in, with an average length of 6 ft 6 in 1.98 m. During the reign of Henry Roman III, the Assize of Arms of 1252 required that all citizens, burgesses, free tenants, villeins, and others from 15 to 60 years of age should be armed. The poorest of them were expected to have a halberd and a knife, and a bowie if they owned land worth more than 2. It has been conjectured that yew trees were commonly planted in English churchyards to have readily available longbow wood.